right, I think I see everyone. I've got to see Miss Rice, Miss Miller, and Michelle. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started on this meeting. I'm going to call it to order. This is the Personnel Administration Committee of the Monroe County Council. Our meeting for Tuesday, September 7th. It is now 12:01. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have on our agenda today 5 items. One of particular substance, and that's a request from the Highway Department. So we'll go ahead and get started. Do I need to have roll call here? I'm trying to recall. Thank you. Thanks for nudging me a little bit. So, counselors, I urge you to unmute and respond when I call your name. Counselor Hawk.
Here.
Counselor Spoonmore.
Here.
And Counselor Deckard. Here. So we've got all 3. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's go directly to item number 2 on our agenda. It's a request from the Highway Department. I see Miss Ridge is with us, and it's a stormwater administrative assistant position. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Miss Ridge, and maybe Miss Titonia, however you want to cover this topic. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for listening to this request. We are requesting the creation of an admin position in the stormwater division of the department. We're going to be incorporating fees, new permit process, and we do not have the admin staff to be able to do this. We're also going to be taking over some of the major portions of the planning department's zoning ordinance with the update of all of chapter 816, which is erosion control and grading plan. And then also which includes planning's grading permits and logging permits, and almost all of chapter 829 karst and sinkhole development, only excluding some of the language there. So we want to be able to, so the staff is going to help to process fees, fines, enforcement letters, answer the phone for the staff, would also be part of using our cartograph asset management program, doing the payroll for that division of the department and paying the claims. As you know, that the Highway Department is also remodeling offices at that location. So the admin staff that we have here currently will be relocated to there. We don't want to take on a new ordinance that we cannot implement and run a good program. So we're trying to stay a little bit ahead of the game there. This would be for 2022, not for 2021. We have discussed this with the Stormwater Board, and they have passed it unanimously with them also. So we were asking for it to go to WIS for the creation of the position. And we kind of mirrored it. It's a lot of the same duties as the building department that already implements fees and permits and things of that nature that we have not done in the past.
Thank you very much, and for the clarity in explaining all that. That was really helpful to us. All right, I'm going to open it up now to questions from members of PAC. Counselor Spoonmore.
When will the stormwater ordinance be adopted?
Actually, I believe we are in the final stages of getting that to be completed. We've gone back and forth a little bit. And this is one of the areas that, in talking when Kelsey took over, that we wanted to make sure that we had everything in place before passing an ordinance that we could not keep up with and implement because we didn't have the staff to do so. We've gone back a few times, I believe, with legal, Christopher Burke and the MS4 coordinator over the last few months. We just want to make sure it's very accurate, very complete, and something that we can maintain.
Got it. And then have you, I know this really isn't PAC's purview, but just kind of curious, funding for the position, will that come through the increased stormwater fee?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Go ahead, Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I'm interested to find out what positions we need to reduce these responsibilities from. We need to look at that as well. Whenever we start adding positions to a new person or a new department, if it's moving from planning over to here, what do we take away from another department? if
Yeah,
we're not doing shared duties, which we are going to have to in the future,
Mhm.
look at how we share these duties.
So, and I think that will mainly come through the planning department, that they would have to redo some of their job classifications for the grading and the logging permits. As far as staff in the highway department, their duties won't change because, for one, nobody has ever done these duties because we've never had the the fees and the permit process. So that's brand new duties. We will just be taking some of the employees of payroll away from the current secretary, but she already does that for our other budgets. So it'll just be taking down a few claims on her responsibility and payroll. Other than that, it would be mainly the major duties of the grading and the logging permits will be in the planning department.
And the other question I had, I noticed on the paperwork, it said that it was to be an exempt employee for 40 hours. Is that, I'm not sure that it's our decision whether or not, we've already found that out the hard way. It's not our place, the PAC's place, to say whether or not it's exempt. Remember,
I agree. Like I said, I think we kind of mirrored that position off the building department position, and the other positions that we have in the department that are comments basically are exempt positions. So I think Kelsey was just trying to do a part of trying to help where we would kind of fall.
Well, we just sort of got in trouble with that in the past. So I think we need to remember that. And the other thing, I think it is not our place to decide how many hours. That's really a budgetary question, I think. So to say it's for 40 hours, that's not something I think we would determine. Anyway, I'm anxious to hear the opinion of the other members of PAC.
The only thing I could say and add on the 40 hours is our whole department is a 40-hour base department. There's not anybody on a 35-hour work base.
As of now.
As of now, we haven't been 35 hours for many years.
I get it.
So if my understanding is correct, this would be sent off to WIS for more information about the classification, any input that they have with that, would return back to PAC. And then ultimately, we theoretically will see this in the reflected in the budget request for next year that we're going to hear about here in a few days or so. And we'll know more then. And to answer Councilor Hawk's question, that would be when council would determine on hours if we would mirror 40 with the rest of the department or otherwise, if I'm saying that correctly. Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you very much. Councilor Spoonmore.
Yes, thank you. It may be helpful for Ms. Shell if there's kind of doing some historical research on new positions to see, and I know everything is very unique to the department and the position, so I'm not trying to say that all positions are alike, but I would be interested in knowing how many new positions we've created in the last year or two that have been 35-hour positions versus 40-hour positions.
Okay.
And maybe have the classifications that are associated with those as well too.
All right, I can do that.
Be helpful, I think, just for the budget discussions. Now, Ms. Ridge, is that position currently in your budget request?
We did add it. I'm not sure if Kim left it in there, but we did put it in for 2022.
This is kind of a placeholder.
It's just a placeholder. And we felt like if it's eliminated at the budget time, just because we're going through the process, if that's the way you guys want, if that's the way you prefer to handle it until we get something back from WIS and go through the proper steps, we can always take that out and come in for an additional if you prefer. We just didn't know if this would be the easiest way of having it in the works and in the 2022, since I don't think we adopt them until a later date.
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Councilor Spoonmore.
I'm fine with that, unless that is contrary to a process or some Ms. Shell or Ms. Rice could let me know. But I'm fine with that. I think as long as we all have knowledge of it we're all aware of it going into the process, that is helpful.
I will say that last year, Health Department added 2 positions, and we didn't know where they were going to be classified or anything until later. And so you did remove them from the budget during budget sessions. I'm not sure exactly when we might get these back from WIS. Do you remember when you're being reviewed? Lisa, is that
When your
on
budget
the
hearing is, yeah, I don't have this.
Oh, our budget
14th?
is next
Is it on the
Tuesday.
next? Okay, on the 14th. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know if they'll have it ready by then. So.
Well, and when we sent out the instructions for the budget, I think we also had a provision in there that said if you have any, one-time requests or kind of unique requests for your department, send those to Kim, and the council office can kind of collate those and put them aside. So maybe we can just include it in that list.
Yeah, I do.
We didn't have a whole lot that were submitted.
No, we didn't. And I do have it. It is still in the
But
in her budget.
yeah, this is probably getting off topic for what PAC is supposed to do. So maybe we can talk about budget stuff at a different time. But
Yeah.
Well, one item, a comment that I would make, although I think it is exceedingly painful sometimes for all participants to talk about everything 12 times, I do think in a very public way, having discussions about this here as this moves forward in this process, council has that discussion in budget, makes deliberate decisions. I think that's not the worst thing for those people that are not us in the public that are watching these discussions, particularly around important things. Not that anything's not important, but I think while that can give us blisters at times, I think that's helpful and it keeps it fresh in our minds in the public as well. Other comments or questions related to this request? Councillor Hawk.
Yes, but maybe this is indeed another budgetary question. I was just wondering how many other departments have included new positions and not have it set aside. So we just have to make sure we all know that as we go. But that is really a budgetary question.
Looking for consistency as we wander towards the door, right? All right. Any other questions or comments? Or I also entertain a motion to dispense with this item if that's the desire. Councillor Spoonmore.
Yes, Mr. Deckard, I will move that we forward the job description for the stormwater administrative assistant position to WIS for factoring. Okay. For classification.
All right, we have a motion. I will second that for purposes of moving it forward. Comments on the motion before the body?
Yes, as I understand it, this is tied to the stormwater ordinance, which has not been passed this yet. So when do we expect that to happen?
Ms. Ridge, do you want to comment on that, or Mr. Tonia?
Timeline on that?
Yeah, I'm expecting this fall. We're hoping to do it earlier this summer, but I was speaking with legal about the responsibilities and was ironing out a plan forward on how to implement it. And that's just taken me some extra time, but it will be this fall within the next few months. I don't have an exact month yet, but it'll go to Drainage Board, Stormwater Board for final review, as well as our local engineers and architects, so that they can put their final input in on it. As well as the state is passing their new general permit requirements, which I spoke to the council about earlier this year. And I'm expecting that to also be in place within the next couple of months. So it's all going to happen pretty quickly, I think.
Okay.
And the permits and the fees won't be taken out of the storm ordinance. That's that we were just working out the final, just kind of how we're going to implement it and move forward with it. But the fees and the permit process, that will stay the same as what is in the new ordinance at this time. It's not one of those outlying issues. It's not going to be removed.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion?
I don't get to pass, do I? I hate it when people say pass because they're too chicken to say yes or no. So I will say yes at this point. Not sure I'll say yes at budget time because I need to know what the new ordinance is going to say and whether or not we really agree with that new ordinance.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call. Ms. Miller?
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore, Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay.
Could we also go on record to make sure that the department heads know, the other department heads who had questions about the whole WIS situation and so forth, is my understanding, the only reason we're hearing this is because there was something left off that WIS said they recognized that there was an error. And this is, according to Michelle, the only one that they had indicated there was an error. Is that correct, Michelle?
Not on this job description.
No, but
I beg your pardon? What did you say?
Not with this job description. This is a brand new job description. This was not what we were talking about earlier.
Oh,
if I could, I would like to address that if it's at all possible. I believe we have 3 positions for which the information that WIS had did not reflect the information that Highway intended, et cetera. And I know that there was some discussion on that in council. I have offline worked with Michelle towards a solution potentially that we would, that I hope to entertain here in just a moment, where we would ask WIS to review the materials for those 3 positions so that we can have proper information when job classifications are adopted, and hopefully take care of at least that procedural problem, while I know that there's still more substantive issues on other outstanding things from the WIS study. Is that?
and you know what? I don't know why I would have thought mix that, because the other one had to do with a signed person versus a truck driver, which is not the same thing as this position at all. So, oh, sorry, it's been a long weekend.
No, I understand. I'm struggling with it myself. So if that makes sense, I would like to move that we, hold on one moment here. I would like to move that we ask WIS to review additional information from Highway related to those 3 positions so that we can have a full classification to review when we do classification adoption, and that we correct any errors of anything that's not what it should be.
The motion from the chair, I like this. I second that.
Don't expect to see it much. There's a motion and a second on this, and I would welcome any comments. Ms. Ridge, if you have anything you wanted to add, or Michelle or Ms. Rice, hopefully this moves us at least on this one issue forward, but I'd welcome your comments.
I appreciate you guys rediscussing that that topic. Kim and myself talked a little bit after the last council meeting, and I by no means blame Kim or anyone. I was just trying to head off some situations that I think could arise with some of the job descriptions, and I know it's really hard with that many, and so I appreciate the efforts to try and correct those before you pass that.
Thank you, Ms. Ridge. And again, if all this was easy,
And
we
this is where
wouldn't
I
be doing
want
it.
to make sure the department heads know that we're not playing favorites, because I don't think we've got to make sure they all know they're being treated equally.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to say that I believe that this does fall on treating people equally, as to the fact that WIS, along with Lisa Ridge, did acknowledge that there were some things left off on these job descriptions, whether it's WIS's fault or whether it was, Highway's fault. There are errors and they are not correct. So we are just making this equitable. We want these job descriptions to be correct, and council doesn't want to approve the lot if knowing that there are errors in 3 of the job descriptions. So I am very comfortable with doing this, and I do feel like you are not showing favoritism at this time. This is just correcting some mistakes.
Any further comments? Yes, Councilor Spoonmore.
I also feel very comfortable doing this, and I appreciate Ms. Hawk's comment and question there, and Ms. Shell's response. It really confirmed to me that we're not, acting in that selective and haphazard. I think that was the terminology that WIS had used throughout their presentations, and the discussions that we've had with them kind of got us into this situation in the first place. But this, to me, is clearly not being selective. And I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you. Last comment I'll make, again, I want to reiterate, there may be more substantive WIS discussions beyond this motion here, and I recognize that. We cannot do that at this moment, but I would like to at least move forward on this and figure that out. Seeing no further comment, Ms. Miller, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. That'll move us to the most controversial portion of the meeting, the approval of summary minutes as presented from August 3rd, 2021. Is there any question, comments, or a motion on those minutes?
Move approval of summary minutes as presented.
Do I
I'll
have a
trust
second?
you and say yes for a second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Miller, could you call the roll?
Counselor Hawk,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Deckard.
Yes,
Motion passed unanimously.
thank you very much. I'll now open it up to PAC member comments if they have any.
I'm here.
Any? Okay. Yes, Councilor Hawk.
I really appreciate having these PAC meetings at noon. Look, it's 12:27 and we're out of here, and we might even get some lunch before time to go back to work. Yes, we're all working. I know you guys think I don't, but I do.
Oh, you're working. We know that.
We know you're working. Well, I also just want to echo, I want to thank everybody that works with PAC, our department heads, the folks at WIS that on that end, and particularly I want to thank Miss Shell, Miss Rice, Miss Miller, who take our 110 million calls and help us work through them, and they do it because they care about the county. So we're all, again, we're wandering towards the door trying to do it orderly right and get it better for the people as we get through it. Seeing no further comments, I'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you.